Imagine you call the police because you think there's an honor killing, God forbid, in your neighborhood, and a policewoman shows up at the Toronto Police Service and she's wearing a hijab, the Muslim head covering. Well, that isn't a fantasy from some weird scenario. That's a possibility now that the Toronto Police has approved Muslim hijabs for policewomen. Joining me today to talk about this is Justin Trottier of the Canadian Secular Alliance. What do you think of that? The accoutrements of a religious order. Next thing we'll have a Pope's mitre and maybe a police out there with big Jewish taluses and Streimel hats. What do you make of religious symbols being grafted onto our secular police force?
Well, I mean, this is not new. The RCMP has allowed Sikhs to wear turbans, I think, for several years. And this issue with the Toronto Police isn't really new either, because about a year ago, Toronto Police set themselves the goal. They actually sent out a media release saying that they were going to find their first hijab-wearing female police officer. Now, of course, the Toronto Police has long had Muslim police officers, I'm sure of both genders, but they thought it was really important, and I think that's curious. The optics and image, the superficial veneer of tolerance and diversity was such a force that they needed somebody with a hijab, and of course they finally found somebody within a few months. They had a celebration. They were celebrating I forget the name of the celebration. It was a couple of months after Ramadan. It was a Muslim dinner that the police were at, and here they were showcasing, they were parading this woman wearing a hijab, and this was a big deal for them. I think that's really the crux of it, Ezra, is, you know, they'd had Muslims on the police force for many years. Why is it so important that it be a Muslim wearing one version of the Muslim garb?
I got to be candid with you. I mean, I am critical of radical Islam, and if I had a police woman come to me wearing a hijab trying to arrest me, I would say, you're not arresting me as a cop. You're arresting me as a radical believer in a radical strain of Islam. I mean, what's next? A full niqab? I mean, my view is, if you are a secular officer of the law, come and enforce the law. If you want to be a priest or a rabbi or an imam, go to your mosque or church or synagogue. And I mean, I would not feel like it was the secular state arresting me. I would feel like it's some vengeance of a religion that disagrees with my religion.
No, it's really interesting, because when you have somebody wearing the hijab, they're actually treated in a special way. They don't have to remove, or sorry, in this case it was actually a veil, they don't have to remove their niqab in order to testify. There was a woman who was allowed to keep the veil on while testifying against a supposed rapist. On the other hand, you have a case of, let's say, Tariq Fatah, a well-known progressive secularist voice in Islam, and here when he's threatened, his actual life is in danger, because he's not seen, I guess by, in this case, the Toronto Police Authority, as your typical Muslim, as your stereotypical Muslim. He's not actually, these death threats that he gets are just waved away, and Muslim officers who are actually assigned to the case are not taking it quite seriously.
You know, that's a good point. I mean, I have no problem with Muslims, Jews, any race of religion being part of the cops. In fact, I think it's a great thing that the cops have, like Noah's Ark, everyone be represented there. But at the end of the day, they should act as neutral, secular agents. The hijab is a political statement. It's not a religious statement. It's a political statement of a certain kind of Islam, and much more than that. A certain way of treating women, a certain way women must be treated. I wonder if a cop wearing a hijab would treat a case of sexual harassment or rape or an honor killing the same way as a Muslim cop not wearing a hijab, because to me it's a symbol of fundamentalism. Now, you talk about the Sikh turbans, and I think that normally I would be opposed to a religious symbol like that, but there is a historical reason. For centuries, literally hundreds of years, Sikhs have been an integral part of the British Empire's military. There have been whole brigades.
That's true.
And Sikhs wearing turbans, I think, are a historical exception. I mean, if I was someone in an ethnicity or a religion who had a quarrel with Sikhs, I might not feel great about a guy wearing a Sikh turban taking me on.
That's what really gets to the heart of it, I think, is that the police should be able to provide services to everybody and anybody in a totally uniform way. I was actually assaulted. I was putting up posters for an atheist event. I was promoting a book by an atheist author. I was attacked by a couple of individuals. Now, I don't want to be stereotypical here, but their features suggested that they were Arabic. And I did, get the police involved. And I wonder, just for what it's worth, the police really didn't do much of an investigation in this case. But I wonder either. If the police had been in a full sort of Muslim uniform, Muslim
or a big honking cross. If a cop with a big honking cross, you would have thought, I'm not going to get fair treatment.
I felt like I was being treated fairly. And that's really what it comes down to. Is to me, at the end of the day, it's can they do their job? And if there are good, compelling, secular reasons why we insist that there be a standard dress that individuals wear as an RCMP or as a Toronto Police Authority figure, then I think there's good, compelling reasons to say, no, we're not going to make exceptions, not for religious reasons, not for non-religious reasons.
Or for safety reasons going out with a headscarf. Justin, we're out of time. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
I think we found some common ground here today.